Arrecior. Alabama in July is not a place. It is a condition. The air sits heavy on your chest like a wet wool blanket, and the sun doesn't just shine, it accuses. It presses down on every surface, every cracked piece of asphalt, every rusting highway sign, with the kind of relentless, indifferent fury that makes men do foolish things. Miller's Crossing is a town that the interstate forgot. One gas station, one diner, one traffic light that blinks yellow more often than it runs green, and a police force that has long confused authority with ownership. It is 11:47 in the morning on a Thursday in July. The temperature is 94 degrees. The humidity makes it feel like 109. A truck pulls into the parking lot of Miller's Fuel and Feed. A 2021 Ford F-250, navy blue, washed and waxed to a hard shine despite 300 miles of highway driving. The truck moves carefully, deliberately, the way its driver moves through every space he enters. It eases to a stop beside pump number 3. The engine cuts. Silence. Except for the cicadas screaming in the pine trees across the road, the door opens. Commander Isaiah Sterling steps out. He is 41 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 198 pounds of organized muscle and quiet discipline. He is wearing his Navy dress whites, his service dress white uniform to be exact, with every button seated, every crease precise enough to draw blood, every ribbon and decoration arranged in perfect accordance with the United States Navy Uniform Regulations Manual. On his left breast, centered above his ribbons, is the Naval Special Warfare Trident. The Trident, the symbol that says, this man has passed through fire and water and darkness and came back different from what he was before. On his chest, among the campaign ribbons and service medals, 2 decorations sit with particular weight. The Silver Star and the Purple Heart. Not one Purple Heart. 2. Sterling moves to the pump. He doesn't look around nervously. He doesn't look at anyone. He's not performing confidence. He simply is. There is a stillness to him that some men earn through years of being the most dangerous person in whatever room they're standing in, and then learning how to carry that without showing it. He swipes his card. He begins pumping gas. Across the lot, idling in the shade of a corrugated metal awning, a Creekwood County Sheriff's cruiser sits with its engine running and its air conditioning at maximum. The deputy behind the wheel has been parked there for 20 minutes, watching the highway, watching the lot, watching nothing in particular, with the glazed authority of a man who has confused being paid to be present with being paid to serve. His name is Officer Brett Harrison. He is 37 years old, with a jaw like a cinder block and eyes the color of old pennies. Dull, slightly oxidized, worth very little. He was the kind of man who peaked in high school and spent the following 2 decades trying to recreate the feeling of being the biggest kid in the room. The badge helped. The gun helped more. He has never been in a fist fight. He didn't start. Never won an argument he didn't win by volume, and never once in his life admitted he was wrong about anything. Harrison watches the navy blue truck pull in. He watches the man in white step out. And something shifts behind those copper eyes. Something he would call instinct, but is actually something much uglier. A reflex built from smallness and the need to fill a room. He climbs out of the cruiser. Harrison, calling across the lot, "Hey. Hey, you. Hold on a second." Sterling does not startle. He turns his head slowly, the way a man turns when he has decided in advance that whatever is coming is manageable. "Stern, officer." Harrison, walking toward him, thumbs hooked in his belt. "That's a real nice get-up you got there. Real nice. Where'd you get that?" Starring. "It's a United States Navy service dress white uniform, officer. I'm Commander Isaiah Sterling, Naval Special Warfare Command." Harrison, stopping, looking him up and down with a smirk that isn't quite a smile. "Is that right, Commander? That's impressive. You got any ID to go along with all those decorations?" Starring. "I have my common access card. My military identification. Would you like to see it?" Harrison. "I'd love to see it. I'd love to see anything that explains why a man in a costume is standing at my gas pump." The word costume drops into the humid air like a stone into still water. Rings expand outward. Sterling registers it. His expression does not change. His eyes go very still. Narrator. Isaiah Sterling has been in 17 combat deployments. He has been shot twice, and he carries the scars with the same indifference he carries his keys. He has stood in rooms where the wrong word, the wrong movement, the wrong breath could detonate something irreversible. And he has learned, through years of training and years of living, that the most powerful thing a man can do in a charged moment is absolutely nothing. Let the machine run. Let the fool operate. Watch and wait. He reaches slowly into the breast pocket of his uniform jacket and produces his common access card. He holds it out. Harrison takes it, looks at it, turns it over. His smirk tightens. Harrison, where are you coming from today? Sterling, Montgomery? Lieutenant Commander Devon Reyes was buried this morning at Oakwood National Cemetery and driving back to Virginia Beach. Harrison, and you just decided to wear all your little medals for a road trip. Sterling, I wore my uniform to bury my brother. I haven't had a reason to change. The word brother carries weight that a man like Harrison doesn't have the equipment to measure. He hands the card back and circles the truck slowly, the way a man circles something he's already decided to take apart. Harrison, I'm going to need to see your registration and proof of insurance. Starming, the registration is in the glove box. I'd like to retrieve it. I'll move slowly. Harrison, you'll move when I tell you to move. Sterling meets his eyes. Holds. Nods once. Arator. In those 2 seconds, Isaiah Sterling calculates the distance between himself and Officer Harrison. 4 feet, 7 inches. He notes the position of the firearm, right hip, snapped holster, the kind issued to officers who've never drawn under stress. He measures Harrison's stance, his center of gravity, the angle of his shoulders, and the time it takes most men to blink. Sterling has assembled a complete tactical picture and identified 3 separate ways to end the situation without breaking a sweat. He does none of them. He stands very still and waits. Harrison, after a long pause, enjoying the power. All right, get your registration. Slowly. Sterling retrieves the documents. Harrison examines them with theatrical care, like a man reading a menu in a restaurant he's going to complain about regardless of what he orders. Harrison, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm seeing a man in what appears to be a military uniform, driving a vehicle that seems a little above his pay grade. And I'm not adding it up. Starling, what specifically isn't adding up, officer? Harrison, the whole picture, pal. Starling, the vehicle is registered in my name. My military identification is valid. I am a commissioned officer in the United States Navy on personal travel. What crime do you believe I've committed? Harrison, leaning in. I didn't say crime. I said I wasn't adding it up, and when things don't add up for me, I like to take my time. I like to be thorough. You understand thorough? Stern, I understand it well. Harrison, good. Then you understand that I'm going to need you to step away from the vehicle. Stern, on what grounds? Harrison, on the grounds that I asked you to. That's the only grounds that matter out here, Commander. The title drips with sarcasm thick enough to choke on. Sterling steps away from the truck. He faces Harrison squarely. The posture is perfect. Shoulders back, chin level, hands visible at his sides. He is the picture of compliance. He is also the picture of a man who has made a decision about how this ends, and the decision does not include Brett Harrison winning anything except the next 10 minutes. Harrison? Those medals real? Starling, yes. Harrison, pointing at the silver star. What's that one for? Starling, it's the Silver Star. 3rd highest combat decoration in the United States military. I received it for actions in Helmand Province in 2019. Harrison, smirking, and the heart? Stern, the Purple Heart. Received twice. For wounds sustained in combat. Harrison, laughing softly, shaking his head. Man, anybody can print a ribbon. You know what I mean. Anybody can walk into Spirit Halloween and walk out looking like a general. The laughter stops. Harrison's hand drops to his holster. Harrison, I'm going to need you to put your hands on the hood of that vehicle. Stern, officer. I want to be very clear. I am a United States Navy commander with a top-secret clearance, wearing a legitimate uniform on public property, having committed no crime. I am complying with every request. I want that noted. Harrison, what I need noted is your hands on that hood. Now, Narrison, the gun comes out in one practiced motion. Harrison draws his service weapon and levels it at the chest of a man who has had firearms aimed at him in 4 different countries by people who actually meant to use them. Sterling's eyes do not widen. His breathing does not change. The cicadas scream in the pine trees. A car passes on the highway. Someone inside the gas station presses their face against the glass. The terrifying calm in Sterling's eyes is not the calm of a man who is afraid and hiding it. It is the calm of a man who has made peace with every possible outcome and is now simply navigating toward the best one. He places his hands on the hood of the truck. Narrator. The concrete is dirty, oil-stained and sun-baked. It holds the heap like a griddle, and the grit embedded in its surface presses through the white fabric of a dress uniform that has seen war, has been folded and pressed 100 times in 100 different countries, and has never once been pressed against the ground in disgrace. Until now. Isaiah Sterling is on his knees on the parking lot of Miller's Fuel and Feed, hands being pulled behind his back, while Brett Harrison narrates his own power to the empty lot with the satisfied grunt of a man who has waited his whole life for a scene this good. Harrison, down. That's right, both knees, hands behind your head. Sterling complies. His jaw is set. His eyes are fixed on a point in the middle distance, a technique, a training tool, a way of being somewhere else while your body navigates the indignity of the moment. Harrison moves behind him. The knee comes down in the center of Sterling's back, not because it is necessary, not because there is any resistance to overcome, but because Harrison can, and because in his experience, men who feel pain remember it longer than men who feel embarrassment. Sterling, through controlled breath. That is unnecessary force. Harrison, that is officer safety. You're welcome. The handcuffs come out, the metallic click-click of the ratcheting mechanism. One wrist, then the other, fills the morning air with a sound so small and so final it seems almost impossible that it can land so heavy. Click, click. Narrator. A second cruiser has pulled into the lot. Officer Kyle Dunning is 24 years old and has been with the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department for 11 months. He's still at the stage of his career where he believes the job means something, where he still pictures himself as the person who shows up when things go wrong and makes them better. He parks, climbs out, and walks toward Harrison and the man in white kneeling on the asphalt. He stops. He looks at the uniform, really looks at it, at the trident, at the ribbons, at the silver star and the purple heart. Kyle Dunning did 2 years of ROTC in college before a knee injury took him out of the running for military service. He knows what these things mean. He knows how you get them. He knows what kind of man wears them. His mouth opens. Harrison, not looking at him, Dunning. Cuffs already done. I need you to clear the scene. Move these civilians back. Dunning, quietly. Brett. That uniform is, that's real. Those decorations are Harrison. Sharp. Did I ask for a fashion consultation? Move the civilians back. Now. Dunning's mouth closes. He looks at Sterling. Sterling looks back at him. Just for a moment. The look does not ask for help. It does not plead. It simply acknowledges. I see you. I know what you know, and I know what you're going to do about it, and I'm already at peace with it. Dunning looks away. He begins moving the 3 bystanders back toward the gas station entrance. Arator. There is a particular kind of shame that only comes from knowing what the right thing is and doing the wrong thing anyway. It is not the same as ignorance. Ignorance is at least clean. Kyle Dunning knows exactly what he's watching, and he walks away from it, and he will carry that walk with him for the rest of his career. Maybe the rest of his life. Harrison hauls Sterling to his feet by the arm and walks him toward the cruiser. As they pass the hood of the truck, Harrison reaches out and taps the silver star with one finger. Harrison, Spirit Halloween. $10.99 on clearance, I bet. Stern, very quietly. That medal was awarded for pulling 4 men out of a burning vehicle under direct enemy fire. 2 of them are alive because of what happened that day. Harrison. Real moving. Get in the car. Sterling ducks his head and folds himself into the back of the cruiser with the careful, deliberate motion of a man conserving every resource. Physical, emotional, psychological. For what comes next. Narrator. The drive to the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department takes 12 minutes. Sterling spends those 12 minutes doing something that looks like nothing. Eyes forward, breathing steady, hands folded as much as the cuffs allow. What he is actually doing is building a timeline, logging every violation, assembling the sequence of events into the kind of clear, concise, combat-effective report that he has been trained to produce under conditions far worse than the back seat of a county sheriff's cruiser. He is not angry. Anger is a fuel that burns fast and dirty. Isaiah Sterling runs on something colder and more efficient than anger. He is patient. The cruiser pulls into the lot of the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department. Harrison parks. He opens the rear door with a flourish, the way a man opens a door when he thinks he's performing for an audience. Harrison. Welcome to Creekwood County, Commander. Hope you enjoy the hospitality. The station has that particular smell. Stale coffee that has been burning on its burner since 6 in the morning, the chemical ghost of industrial cleaner, and underneath it all, something harder to name, the smell of aggression. The smell of a place where people come when things have already gone wrong. Harrison parades Sterling through the main floor, past dispatch, past the holding area, past the break room where 2 officers look up from their lunches and look away again, the way people look away from things they don't want to have to testify to. Harrison to the room, grinning. Got us a big fish, boys. Stolen Valor. Full dress whites, the whole 9. No one laughs. No one agrees. But no one says anything either. Sterling is guided to a chair in front of the booking desk. Sergeant Carl Miller is behind the desk. 50s, thick through the middle, with the face of a man who has seen enough to stop being surprised by most things. He looks at Sterling. He looks at Harrison. His expression is the expression of a man doing math he doesn't like. Miller, what are we booking? Harrison, suspected stolen valor. Impersonating a military officer. Miller, slowly, you verified that. Harrison, that's what we're doing right now. Miller holds out his hand. Miller, ID. Sterling produces the common access card again. Miller takes it. He runs it through the system. The system responds with the speed and absolute clarity of a federal database that does not negotiate or soft pedal. The screen in front of Miller fills with information. Miller reads it. He reads it again. His face, which was already cautious, becomes something else. Something careful and slightly pale. Miller, Harrison. Harrison, still grinning, leaning against the wall. What? Miller, come here! Come here. Harrison, crossing to the desk, reading the screen. What am I looking at? Miller. You are looking at Commander Isaiah Marcus Sterling, United States Navy, Naval Special Warfare Command. Tier 1 operator. 22 years of service. Silver Star. 2 Purple Hearts. Defense Distinguished Service Medal. And at the bottom of his file, which you should pay very close attention to, access level, top secret. Sky compartmented. A long silence. Harrison, that doesn't mean milliner, Brett. That means every single thing you are thinking it does not mean. Go get him some water. Harrison, Carl, milliner, go. Get him water. Harrison goes. Miller looks at Sterling. Milliner, Commander, I am going to remove your restraints. And I want you to know that what happened today does not reflect. Stern, Sergeant. I appreciate that. Before you continue, I'd like to make a phone call. Miller, of course. Stern, 1 call. That's all I'll need. Narrator. The call lasts 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Sterling makes it from the sergeant's desk in a quiet room with the door closed. He dials a number that does not appear in any directory. The line is answered on the second ring by a voice that says nothing. Just a brief, steady tone that means, I'm here, proceed. Sterling speaks in the clipped, efficient cadence of a man who has briefed senior commanders in forward operating bases, in classified facilities, and in rooms with no windows and no addresses. He gives the location, the name of the agency, the names of the officers involved, the sequence of events. He requests assistance. There is a pause. Then the voice on the other end says 3 words. Voice and phone. We have it. Naruto. Sterling hangs up. He finds Sergeant Miller in the hallway and says, with the absolute steadiness of a man delivering a weather report, "Stern, Sergeant, I want to make sure you're prepared for what's coming. The United States government is about to fall on your head." Miller blinks. "Miller, excuse me?" "Sterling, I'd suggest you call your county attorney, and whoever your precinct commander reports to, and if you have a chaplain on call, that wouldn't be the worst idea either." He walks back to the chair he was assigned and sits down. He accepts a paper cup of water from Harrison without looking at him. He drinks it. He sets the cup on the edge of the desk. He waits. Ararat. The first black Suburban arrives 23 minutes later. Then the second. Then the third. They pull into the parking lot of the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department with the quiet, coordinated efficiency of people who have done this many times in many places, and have never once had to hurry, because they have never once arrived at a situation they were not fully prepared to control. The doors open. Men in suits step out. 3 of them from the first vehicle, wearing the particular kind of dark suit that says Federal without needing to say anything else. From the second vehicle, 2 uniformed Navy officers emerge, both commanders, one wearing the gold rope of an aide-de-camp. From the third vehicle, a woman in a charcoal blazer and pressed slacks walks with the kind of precise, measured stride that belongs to a person who walks into rooms where the situation is already bad and makes it manageable. Her name is Sarah Holloway. She is a lieutenant commander, a judge advocate general, a JAG attorney, and she has been on the phone for the last 20 minutes building a case that Brett Harrison does not yet know is being built. She walks through the front door of the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department. The room changes. The smell of stale coffee and aggression is still there, but it is competing now with something else. The sharp, clean smell of federal jurisdiction, and the specific kind of authority that does not ask for permission to be in the room. Holloway finds Sergeant Miller. "Holloway, I'm Lieutenant Commander Sarah Holloway, JAG Corps. I'm here representing Commander Isaiah Sterling and the interests of Naval Special Warfare Command. I'll need an interview room, all body camera footage from every officer involved in today's incident, and a complete chain of custody for Commander Sterling's personal effects, including his military identification and vehicle documentation. I'll also need the personnel file for Officer Brett Harrison, and I will need him in a room where I can look at him while I explain what his immediate future looks like." She says all of this without pausing, without raising her voice, without consulting notes. "Miller, quietly, right this way." The blinding strobe of media cameras begins outside. Someone tipped a press. It may have been one of the bystanders at the gas station, or it may have been the dispatcher who heard the booking come through and made a call to someone she trusted more than her employer. Regardless, 3 news vans are now in the parking lot, and the cameras are going, and the story is already writing itself without anyone's help. Narrator. Harrison is in the break room when his sergeant opens the door. He is sitting with a mug of coffee he hasn't touched, and he is looking at his phone with the expression of a man who has already begun to understand that the trajectory of his day has shifted in a direction he did not plan for. "Miller, Brett, there's a JAG attorney in interview room 2 who wants to talk to you. And there are federal agents in my building. And there are cameras outside." Harrison, standing. "I didn't do anything wrong. I observed a suspicious Miller. Do not say another word to me. Whatever you say to me, I will repeat under oath. Find yourself a lawyer." Harrison, "I'm a cop. I was doing my job." Miller, very quietly, very seriously, "You drew your weapon on a decorated combat veteran for pumping gas. You need him in the back on a public parking lot. You mocked his silver star." Brett, "I've been doing this for 27 years, and I've never seen a man so thoroughly dismantle his own future in 40 minutes. Go find a lawyer." Harrison goes to the interview room anyway, because men like Brett Harrison always believe, even at the exact moment when they should stop believing it, that they can talk their way to the other side of a situation. He sits across from Holloway. She looks at him the way a doctor looks at an X-ray, clinically, without judgment, just taking inventory of what's broken. Holloway. Officer Harrison. My name is Lieutenant Commander Sarah Holloway. I'm here in my capacity as JAG Counsel representing Commander Sterling. I want to be very clear with you about something, and I want you to listen carefully. She opens a folder. She lays a single sheet of paper on the table. Holloway. This is the incident timeline as confirmed by body camera footage, the gas station security system, 2 civilian witness statements, and Commander Sterling's own account. At 11:52 this morning, you drew a service weapon on a commissioned United States Navy officer in full dress uniform on public property. He had committed no crime, made no threatening movement, and had been providing you with accurate identification throughout. You then applied unnecessary physical force during the course of an arrest that had no legal basis. In the process, you verbally disparaged decorations earned in active combat. You transported Commander Sterling to this facility where he was displayed, and I use that word carefully because the witness accounts use it, too. He was displayed to personnel in this building as, and I'm quoting from a witness here, a trophy deer. She closes the folder. Holloway. Officer Harrison, the charges we are currently preparing include unlawful arrest, unlawful detention, civil rights violations under federal statute, and conduct unbecoming. The federal civil rights violations alone carry a sentence range that I think would surprise you. Harrison says nothing. The copper in his eyes has gone a little flat. Holloway, I want to give you one opportunity to make a choice that might affect how this unfolds. Is there anything you would like to tell me, completely voluntarily, about your service record, your conduct on duty, or anything else that you believe would be relevant? Harrison, after a long pause, I want a lawyer. Holloway, that is the first intelligent thing you have said today. I'll arrange for you to make that call. She gathers her folder and stands. At the door, she pauses. Holloway, for what it's worth, Officer Harrison, I've worked cases involving a lot of different kinds of men. Men who made mistakes under pressure. Men who had bad days. Men who were imperfect in ways that were understandable. She looks at him steadily. Holloway, you're not one of those men. She leaves. In the main room of the Creekwood County Sheriff's Department, Commander Isaiah Sterling is standing, no longer cuffed, his jacket returned and his decorations where they belong, speaking quietly with the 2 uniformed Navy officers who arrived with Holloway. His voice is low and his face is still, and he looks exactly like what he is, a man who knew from the moment he placed his hands on that truck hood that the machine would do what machines do when they are properly engaged. He was right. He is always right about these things. Narrator. Kyle Dunning has been sitting in his cruiser in the parking lot for 45 minutes. He watched the black Suburbans arrive. He watched Holloway walk in. He watched the news cameras set up. He's been sitting here holding his steering wheel with both hands, staring at the building, doing the math that he has been avoiding doing since the moment he pulled into the Miller's Fuel and Feed parking lot and saw a decorated Navy commander being kneed into the asphalt. There is a version of this where he does nothing, where he files his shift report, goes home, heats up dinner, watches television, and tells himself that it wasn't his arrest, it wasn't his jurisdiction within the situation, it wasn't his place to. He knows that story. He's heard other men tell it. He knows how it ends. He gets out of the cruiser. He walks into the building. He finds Holloway in the hallway outside interview room 2. Dunning. Lieutenant Commander Holloway. Holloway, turning. Yes? Dunning. My name is Officer Kyle Dunning. I was the second responding officer at Miller's Fuel this morning. I was present for what happened. Holloway. I know who you are. Officer Dunning. Dunning, taking a breath. I need to tell you something. About Harrison. Not just today. Something that's been in the back of my head for a long time, and I think today it has to come forward, or I'm going to spend the rest of my career wondering what kind of person I actually am. Holloway, stepping toward him. I'm listening. Narrator. Kyle Dunning has known about the storage unit for 8 months. He didn't know what it meant. He didn't know what was in it. He only knew that Brett Harrison had a unit at the Creekwood County Storage Facility, Unit 4B, and that he went there sometimes at the end of shifts, and that he was very particular about who knew it existed, and that when Dunning had mentioned it casually at a department barbecue 6 months ago, Harrison had looked at him with those flat copper eyes and said, in a voice meant to end conversations rather than continue them, "That's my personal space. Keep it personal." Dunning had kept it personal. Until now. Dunning, he calls it his toy box. I've heard him say it. Just once, to a guy from the county roads department who he's friendly with, he said, "You'd be amazed what people throw away." And then he said it again. Toy box. Holloway. Very carefully. "Do you have any idea what's in it?" Dunning. "No, but I know it's been there for at least a year and a half. And I know that Harrison has keys to about 6 properties in this county whose owners wouldn't know they'd had anything taken. I know that. I've known it for a while. Holloway, Officer Dunning, I want you to understand that what you are doing right now is going to cost you something. It may cost you relationships. It may cost you comfort. But what you are doing right now is the correct thing. There is only one version of this where you can look at yourself clearly." Dunning. "Yeah. I know. Holloway. I need the exact address of that storage facility and the unit number. Dunning, Creekwood County Storage. 844 Old Mill Road. Unit 4B. Narrator. The FBI warrant is signed by a federal judge at 3:47 in the afternoon. The raid on Creekwood County Storage begins at 4:22. Unit 4B is padlocked with 2 separate locks. Heavy gauge steel, the kind a man buys when he's serious about what he's protecting. The FBI field team removes them in under 90 seconds. The door rolls up. Narrator. The unit is the size of a 1-car garage. It is organized with a precision that is almost military in its presentation. Shelving units along both walls, each item tagged with a small strip of masking tape on which a date is written in careful block letters. The agents move slowly, methodically, with cameras and clipboards and the particular kind of focused silence that professional investigators bring to a scene when they sense that what they're looking at is worse than what they expected. Along the right wall, electronics. A flat-screen television. 3 laptops. A camera. A set of high-end power tools still in their original cases. Along the left wall, smaller items. Jewelry. Watches. A coin collection in a leather-bound case. And at the back of the unit on its own stand, wrapped in a soft cloth that someone took the time and care to fold correctly. A guitar case, black, with worn silver hardware. Old. The kind of case that has been carried a lot of places by someone who understood what was inside it. An agent lifts the latches. Inside, in a bed of worn red velvet, is a vintage Gibson Les Paul standard. Circa 1979. Cherry sunburst finish. The neck is worn smooth at the first and second positions, the way guitar necks get worn when someone plays them for years, for hours with real love. On the headstock, written in silver marker in the handwriting of a young person, Atherata. The name lands in the storage unit like a stone dropped into deep water. The FBI agent who finds the guitar does not say anything. He takes a photograph. He takes another. He carefully replaces the cloth. He marks the item and steps back and stands very still for a moment, the way people sometimes do when they understand that what they've found is not just evidence. It is testimony. It is a young life's worth of practice and dreams and possibility, locked in a box by a man who had no right to touch it. Flashback. 12 months earlier. Narrator. His name was Ethan Cole. He was 17 years old. He played guitar the way some people breathe. Not as a choice, but as a necessity. He learned on a beat-up acoustic that his mother found at a yard sale for $8 when he was 9. And by the time he was 12, he could play anything he heard by ear, the first time. By 14, he had written 47 songs. By 16, he had recorded demos in the back room of his uncle's auto shop on a second-hand interface and a single studio-quality microphone he'd saved for over 2 years to buy. The Gibson was a birthday gift from his father, who had driven to Memphis to find it, and had paid more for it than he could reasonably afford and had not regretted a single dollar of it when he saw his son's face. Ethan played that guitar every day. He played it on the back porch in the evenings. He played it at school talent shows and at the First Methodist Church and at the county fair, where, the summer before he died, he won the amateur music competition by performing an original song about the creek that ran behind his parents' house, and the entire crowd was quiet in the way crowds go quiet when something real is happening. He was walking home from a friend's house on a Friday night in August, the Gibson on his back in its case, when Brett Harrison's cruiser slowed beside him on Milner Road. Harrison, in flashback, from the cruiser window. "Hey kid, hold up." Narrator. The stop had no legal basis. Ethan Cole was 17 years old, walking on a public road, committing no crime, bothering no one. But Brett Harrison had seen the guitar case, and Brett Harrison had a particular disorder that some men carry. A compulsive need to take the things that other people value, because the taking is how they feel large. He stepped out of the cruiser. He told Ethan the guitar was stolen. Ethan said it wasn't. He said his father gave it to him. He said he had the receipt at home. Harrison told him to hand it over. Ethan refused. Narrator. What happened next took 11 seconds. Harrison raised his baton. Not because Ethan threatened him. Not because Ethan moved toward him. Because Ethan Cole, 17 years old, looked at Brett Harrison and did not back down. And the refusal to be diminished by a man with a badge was more threatening to Harrison than anything physical could have been. The baton connected with the side of Ethan's head. Ethan fell. He did not get up. Narrator. Harrison stood over him for a long moment. He looked up and down the road. No cars. No witnesses. Just the dark and the pine trees and the creek you could hear in the distance if you listened, which Brett Harrison was not doing. Because Brett Harrison was already managing the problem, already building the narrative in his head. An accidental fall. A tragic accident. An unfortunate night. He picked up the guitar case. He put it in the trunk. He called it in as a found item. Ethan Cole was found by a passing driver 40 minutes later. He was transported to Creekwood County General, where he died of a traumatic brain injury 14 hours after he arrived. The medical examiner listed the manner of death as accidental. One fall, one impact. One tragedy with no witnesses and no apparent cause beyond bad luck. His mother kept his other guitars. She kept his notebooks. She kept his voice on recordings on her phone that she has listened to every single day for the last 12 months while she tried to understand how her son could be walking home on a Friday night and then simply be gone. She did not know there was a man who knew exactly what happened on Milner Road. She did not know there was a guitar in a storage unit with her son's name on the headstock. She did not know that the machine, once engaged, would find its way to Unit 4B. But it did. Present day. FBI Field Office Narrator. The guitar is identified through the serial number within 3 hours. It matches the Gibson Les Paul that James Cole purchased in Memphis 14 months ago. The receipt is still in the Cole family's filing cabinet at home, along with a warranty card. Along with a birthday card James wrote to his son, which Ethan had kept and folded and tucked inside the case. The card is still there. Inside the case, tucked in the pocket where picks and cables live, folded twice. Happy birthday, Ethan. You make this family proud every single day. Play it like you mean it. Love, Dad. The fingerprints on the case match Brett Harrison's. The investigation expands within hours. The items in the storage unit are cross-referenced against 12 months of theft reports from Creekwood County and the surrounding 3 counties. 11 separate victims are identified. The value of stolen property exceeds $400,000. And the baton from Harrison's cruiser swapped for a new one 8 months ago, but not discarded, because Harrison kept it with a carelessness that borders on arrogance, carries trace evidence consistent with blunt force impact and a cellular match to Ethan Cole. Narrator. Brett Harrison is in his office when 2 FBI agents walk in. He sees their faces. He sees the case they're carrying. He sees the evidence bag. Through the evidence bag's clear plastic, he can see a corner of a black guitar case. The color leaves his face. It does not come back. Narrator. The trial takes 9 months. Harrison retains a defense attorney who does what defense attorneys do: argues procedure, argues timeline, argues chain of custody, argues every seam and junction in the government's case with the diligence of a man being paid to argue. But the case is built like something engineered, not assembled. Built with the kind of precision and interlocking strength that comes from federal prosecutors working alongside JAG counsel. 12 months of forensic evidence, 16 witnesses on the body camera footage from Miller's Fuel and Feed that played on every news channel in the country for 3 consecutive weeks. It is not a difficult jury deliberation. 4 hours, including a lunch break. Narrator. The federal courtroom is full on the day of sentencing. Every seat occupied. Standing room at the back. Camera crews in the designated media area. Members of the law enforcement community. Some in uniform, many not. Scattered throughout the gallery with expressions that cover the full spectrum from grim resolution to visible shame. James and Patricia Cole sit in the second row. They have been here every day. Patricia holds a small framed photograph in her lap. Ethan at 15. Guitar across his knee, laughing at something off camera. The full, easy laugh of a boy who has no reason yet to be anything but happy. Commander Isaiah Sterling sits 3 rows behind them. He is in dress whites again. The Trident is where it belongs. He has not spoken to the Coles directly, but he has nodded to them in the hallway, and they have nodded back, and there is an understanding between them that requires no language. You did not intend this, but you were the reason the door opened. Thank you. The judge is the Honorable Margaret Osei. She has been on the federal bench for 19 years. She has sentenced men for crimes ranging from tax fraud to murder. And she has never been the kind of judge who treats sentencing as theater. She is the kind of judge who treats it as the serious and consequential thing it is. She reads the charges. She reads the jury's findings. She reads the sentencing guidelines and the prosecution's recommendation and the victim impact statements, which include a 7-page letter from Patricia Cole that she wrote by hand 3 times before she got the words right. Then she looks at Harrison. John, AC, Mr. Harrison. You were entrusted with a badge. You were entrusted with a weapon. You were entrusted with the authority of this county and the implicit trust of every citizen in it. Citizens who could not protect themselves from the power you carried, and who depended on that power being used in their service. You used it for the opposite purpose. You used it to take from people. You used it to intimidate and humiliate and steal. And on one night, on a dark road, you used it to end the life of a 17-year-old boy who had done nothing in this world except love music and refused to be bullied by a man who outweighed him by 80 pounds and was carrying a weapon. She pauses. Judgeness. I have read every statement in this file. I have read about Ethan Cole. I have read about the guitar. I have read about the card his father wrote him. I have also read your service record, and I have read the statements from other officers who worked alongside you. And the picture that emerges is of a man who understood, from very early in his career, that the badge could be a tool of power, and who chose to use it that way without hesitation or remorse. There is no version of this that suggests a good man who made mistakes. There is only a man who made choices. She sets down the documents. Jeju Days, on the charge of racketeering and organized theft, guilty. On the charge of civil rights violations, guilty. On the charge of the murder of Ethan James Cole, guilty. On the charge of unlawful arrest of Commander Isaiah Sterling, guilty. On the charge of excessive force and assault under color of law, guilty. She delivers the sentence. Jedravul Samaya, 58 years federal custody without the possibility of parole for the first 35. Effective today. The room is quiet. Not the quiet of shock. The quiet of a moment arriving exactly when and how it was supposed to. Patricia Cole exhales. James Cole puts his hand over his wife's hand. The photograph in her lap catches the light from the courtroom's high windows. Narrator. Outside the courthouse, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Halloway gives a brief statement to the press. She thanks the investigators. She thanks Kyle Dunning by name, explicitly and deliberately, because she believes that the men and women who break the blue wall deserve to be seen doing it. She says nothing about Sterling specifically, because Sterling has made it clear he wants nothing said specifically about Sterling. He is standing at the edge of the courthouse steps, his jacket over one arm, watching the cameras without looking at them. An aide approaches with a folder. Sterling takes it, reads it, signs it, It is his retirement papers. 22 years, an honorable discharge, a full pension, a commendation added to his file not for what happened at Miller's Crossing, but for the 14 operations conducted in the years before it, detailed in documents that will remain classified until long after everyone in this parking lot is dead. He signs. He hands the folder back. Arator. 2 weeks later, by a unanimous vote of the Creekwood County Commission, Isaiah Sterling is appointed interim sheriff of Creekwood County, pending a special election in which he will run unopposed. He accepts at a simple ceremony in the county commission chambers. He is wearing civilian clothes, a dark button-down, slacks, boots. He accepts the badge with both hands and looks at it for a moment before pinning it to his chest. And the look on his face is not triumph, and it is not satisfaction. And it is not the look a man wears when he has gotten what he wanted. It is the look of a man who has identified a job that needs to be done, and who has decided to do it. Zling. To the assembled commissioners and staff. I want to be clear about something. I'm not here because of what happened to me. I'm here because of what happened to Ethan Cole and the 11 other people whose property was in that storage unit, and every person in this county who has had cause to be afraid of the people they were supposed to be able to trust. My job, starting today, is to make this department a place that earns trust. That does not happen with speeches. It happens with decisions, made every day, one at a time, correctly. That is what I intend to do. Brief pause. Stern. I'll clean up the mess. The commissioners applaud. Kyle Dunning, seated in the third row in his uniform with his badge and his conscience both intact, applauds with him. Narrator. The Creekwood County Storage Facility is liquidated by court order. The proceeds, combined with a grant from the State Arts Council and a matching donation from a country music foundation that heard about Ethan Cole's story and made a decision in an afternoon, fund the construction and operation of a new community space on Old Mill Road. The Ethan Cole Community Music Center opens on what would have been Ethan's 19th birthday. It has 6 practice rooms, a recording studio, a stage for performances, an archive of Ethan's original recordings, digitized and mounted on a listening station near the entrance, and in the lobby, mounted on a wall of light wood, in a case with a glass front that is always clean because someone always cleans it, the vintage Gibson Les Paul Standard, 1979, cherry sunburst finish with Ethan's name on the headstock. It will not be played again, but it will be seen every day by every child who walks through that door with a guitar on their back and a song in their head and no idea yet what it is going to become. Patricia Cole is at the opening. She stands in front of the display case for a long time. Then she puts her hand on the glass, not pressing, just resting, the way you touch something when you wanted to know you haven't forgotten. Arator. Creekwood Federal Correctional Institution. Unit H. Brett Harrison has been in solitary confinement for 11 days. Not by punishment, by request. He requested protective housing in his first week, citing fear of other inmates, and the request was granted because the system does not particularly care about Brett Harrison's comfort, but does care about its own liability. Solitary is quiet. Harrison did not expect it to be this quiet. He is not afraid of the silence the way most men in isolation become afraid of it, as an external absence that becomes internal pressure. He is afraid of it in a different way. In the silence, there is no noise to fill the space where judgment used to be. There is nothing to push against. There is only the sequence of events replaying without interruption, without the ability to explain them away or reframe them or assign them to someone else's decisions. He submits a transfer request. He submits another. He writes a letter to the warden of the federal facility explaining that he cannot adapt to the conditions of his current housing, that the isolation is affecting his mental health, that he needs to be moved to general population or to a different facility. The request works its way up the chain of custody until it reaches the desk of the sheriff of Creekwood County, in whose jurisdiction the matter partially falls, and whose sign-off is required as a courtesy to the originating case. Sheriff Isaiah Sterling reads the request. He reads it carefully, the way he reads everything. Then he picks up a pen and writes at the bottom of the form, in the space marked recommendation, "Request denied." He signs his name. He sets the form in the outgoing tray. He turns back to the work on his desk. Narrator. Outside the window of his office, Creekwood County carries on, the way small towns carry on, with all the weight of everything that has happened in them and all the ordinary business of the day pressing forward regardless. There are calls to answer and reports to review and a meeting at 3 with the county schools about a safety initiative and a conversation he needs to have with Kyle Dunning about a promotion that Dunning has earned. There are things to do. Isaiah Sterling does them. Final narrator. There is a version of justice that announces itself loudly, that arrives with cameras and crowds and the satisfaction of a moment captured and broadcast and shared. And that version has its place. The cameras were there. The moment was broadcast. The sentence was read in a room full of people who needed to hear it. But there is another version. Quieter, more permanent. It lives in a music center on Old Mill Road, where a kid with a second-hand guitar spends 3 hours on a Thursday afternoon learning something that will stay with them forever. It lives in a patrol car driving through Creekwood County on a Tuesday night, carrying a deputy who knows that the person behind the badge is watching, not to catch anyone in a mistake, but to make sure the job gets done right. It lives in a storage unit that is now a parking lot, where nothing is hidden and nothing is kept, and the lock has been removed. And it lives in a cell block at Creekwood Federal, where a man who once filled every room he entered with noise and swagger sits in a space the size of a large closet, listening to the silence he created, for as long as the silence chooses to stay, which, as of today, is 58 years. Fade to black.